All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. This is my first Just Chatting show. So I welcome you. Ask you to be open minded on this. This is kind of a new thing for me. As I said, it's my first stream. Eventually, I'm going to work into a podcast. But for now, we're just gonna. I picked a subject, and the subject is, as you see in the title, is social media toxicity, which seems to be kind of plaguing our society these days. And kind of what brought this on, I was at work today. I was talking to a coworker about this kind of stuff. She's writing a paper on people are, I guess, are like self-diagnosing themselves with various diseases on social media now, and from what she's told me, it sounds like what they're trying to do is like they'll go to WebMD, convince themselves that they have all these different, you know, whatever symptoms for whatever disease, and then they'll self-diagnose, and then they'll try and simp on, social media to try and get people to, you know, like I said, simp for them, which I think's pretty fucked up. That's not what social media is meant for. I mean, if you actually have a legitimate issue, if you're like me, I'm autistic, and I talk about my struggles on social media. I'll talk about, things that I've gone through, things that, I still go through, things that I've overcome. I try and talk about it in a positive light and not a negative thing. I don't try and get people to simp for me, and be like, "Oh, you're autistic. That's I'm so sorry," or whatever. Like, I'm not trying to do that. It's not a positive message, is what I'm saying. So what I just wanted to touch on some of this stuff today, just because, like I said, it seems like social media toxicity just seems like it's a big prominent issue today, and I'm going to talk about a little bit kind of how I've seen it kind of infiltrate relationships, familial relationships, friendships, that kind of thing. I'm going to touch on a little bit kind of how growing up in the early 2000s, kind of how I saw social media starting. I want to talk about kind of the positive and kind of the negative, because social media, I believe, does have a place. I don't believe in outright censorship and banning things. I think there should be consequences to, I think there should be consequences if you say something, and it gets somebody hurt. For example, somebody yells fire in a movie theater, everybody starts running out the door and people get killed over it. There should obviously be consequences for that person, in some way, shape, or form. But, I mean, again, free speech is free speech, right? So, it's kind of a gray area for me. But, like I said, bear with me. I'm just kind of going off the cuff here. It's not something, again, it's not something I normally do first time. So I wrote down some notes while the stream was starting, so I kind of remember what's all in my head. I can get it out, tell you guys about it, that kind of a thing. So let me start with, let's see, kind of about, for you younger folks, I'm 32, I'll be 33 in a couple months. For you younger folks that may not remember MySpace, I remember MySpace. It kind of started off as like, I mean, MySpace was awesome. I actually missed MySpace. You could go on MySpace, you could go to a website, copy like a link that had like background music, that kind of stuff. And you would put it in your background, and you would just kind of share some of your personality with your friends, right? Me, for example, like my background right now is for Horizon Forbidden West, for example, right? I would go on my MySpace page and I would put, it wasn't around back then, but if it were around today, I would put Horizon Forbidden West, background, and I could share like some favorite clips of mine, favorite movie, scenes or whatever, and you know, and then just share a little bit about about yourself, your bio, like, hi, I am Alex, and this is what I like, this is who I am, this is, just stuff like that. It was a way, it was, kind of you know, it was a new thing. It was a new way of connecting with people, a way that we didn't have before, growing up, at least growing up and, generations before me didn't have social media. You would sit in a room, you would talk to people, you would say, hey, so, what's going on in your life? Um, so it was a cool thing. And then people, also, something I used it for was I would use it to role play. So I would pretend to be a character, from whatever video game that I like. Like I was a big fan of Kingdom Hearts. I still am. And there would be other Kingdom Hearts, fans or other RPG type games where, we would like connect and you would, like, I can't remember what the actual term was, but you would send messages in RPG with each other. Matter of fact, one of those sessions I was pretty good friends with, even though I didn't actually know the person. I wrote a book off of, which I haven't published, sadly. Emote here. But yeah, so I remember, like, for example, I had a aunt and uncle move out of town to North Carolina, and I know oftentimes, just like Facebook is today, they would share stuff about, oh, hey, this is what's going on in North Carolina, new revolutionary idea to, just stay connected with people that are far away. And so, like I said, it had positive uses back in those days. And then it kind of devolved into other things. Eventually MySpace became obsolete. Facebook came around. And when Facebook first got started, it was awesome. It was a bit of a different version of MySpace, I will admit. Two totally separate things, really. I mean, for being totally honest, two separate things. But it started off just like, oh, hey, keep in touch with family. What post about what's going on in your day. People can read it like a newspaper. Like, oh, hey, like this person just ate at Chick-fil-A or some shit like that or whatever. I mean, it's kind of still like that, but it's a lot worse, I guess. I don't really feel like cyberbullying was as prominent back then. I don't remember really having to deal with cyberbullying myself when I was growing up as a kid. I dealt with actual bullying, mind you, but but yeah. What was some of my other points here? Like I said, I'm just kind of going off the cuff here, just talking about things that me and my friend at work were talking about today. Social media has its positive uses even today. Small businesses can promote themselves, on social media. They can, me as a streamer, I'm still new to streaming, still, trying to build a following. It's good for that kind of a thing. Where I think it gets dicey, just like with anything, Facebook, Twitter, all of these social media platforms got in bed with the government, and it seems whatever the government puts its grimy little hand to, they end up fucking up. I feel like the government has really kind of helped to fuck up, or rather, the political affiliations of these platforms have really kind of fucked up, what it was meant to be. Now it's all about ads, it's ads, clout chasing, people are, virtue signaling, people, support, just saying, oh, look at how good of a person I am because I support Ukraine, or I support this, that, or the other, which, I mean, nothing wrong with that. Hey, do what you want, but don't pretend, I mean, if you haven't contributed to whatever cause, like, don't pretend like you're this virtuous person that, I mean, what does this banner really do? I mean, are you sending money over there? That's, I mean, out of your own pocket? Are you doing this, that, or the, like, what are you doing to contribute other than post a little banner around your profile picture, say, I support this? Um, yeah. Let me see here. Um, back to talking about before Facebook, before it's become what it is today. Um, you know, social media back when I was growing up, it wasn't as prominent. People didn't care as much, when they were in front of their computer like I am in front of you guys right now. Yeah, fine, they cared, but but that was when we had the flip phones, and so this is kind of a two-parter subject, I guess. But now what I see oftentimes, I'll be, hanging out with family, friends, whatever, and you got all these social media platforms now. You got all these ways for things on this little device here to grab your attention with. And people, I could be sitting in a room with four people. Me, I'm trying to be better about putting this over here, right? And not look at social media, not take care of, not text other people, just be present with the people that I am with. But what I see, there are some friends that I have. They got three girls, and I love these people to death. Don't get me wrong. If you guys are watching this later down the line, but what I see is, like, I'll be sitting there trying to have a conversation, enjoy their company, but what I'll see, their kids and them doing while I'm trying to have a conversation is they're just they're on TikTok, they're doing whatever, like, oh, hey, look at this video or whatever. Like, I'm like, okay, what does that have to do with what we were just talking about, or the conversation that we were just trying to have? As I clear my notifications, what does that have to do with, really anything? Like, I'm trying to be present. I'm trying to be here with you guys, spend time with you guys. But what you're doing is you're just watching TikTok. You're watching TikTok. You're watching Facebook Reels. You're watching whatever, and not being in the moment, because when we're all dead and gone, right? Like, what are you going to remember? We're dead and gone, and if you are on your phone all the time, you can't enjoy the people that you're with. And I mean, I wish we could go back to the days of either no cell phones or just flip phones or something, where not everything is so integrated into our smart devices that it that it takes away the attention of the people that we're trying to spend time with. I even see this with my own parents. I'll go over and now granted, it's not as bad with my parents as it is with my friends, a lot of the times. But sometimes with my parents, like, if my stepbrothers are over, or me and my brother are over, we're just like, they'll be on their phones, but, like, I'll be, now I'm not always perfect about it. Sometimes I'm bad about it too. Like, when I was building my PC this past weekend, me and my mom went out, or me, my mom, my brother, and a bunch of us all went out. We had dinner, and I would have my phone, sitting, like, right here in front of me. I'm kind of at a point where I'm like, I feel bad about that a little bit, because, like, you take the I feel bad about that, because you're still not fully present when you have it in front of you like that. Like, put it in your pocket. I'm putting it over here just because it's within reach, but, put it in your pocket. Don't take it to the gathering at all. Enjoy the people that you're with, because, like, life is very short. Life is very short. Those people that you're hanging out with right now, tomorrow they may not be here. And, what are you going to remember, if you're on your phone in front of these people all the time? What are you going to do if, say, I don't know, what are you going to remember? Like, you may be there physically, but you're not there emotionally and mentally, and that's a big part of life. It's how you build relationships. When I'm at work talking with my patients, I'm not I'm not on my phone, partially because that'd just be quite frankly unprofessional, but you know I'm sitting there having a real live conversation with them, trying to establish a relationship so they can trust me to help take care of them, and so that I can better understand their needs. And it's the same way in life with with family members, with friends, with whoever. You know, Same way with um, romantic relationships. Um, you know, you sh- I'm divorced. As a matter of fact, my ex-wife was one of my followers. And if she's listening to this, we weren't always present with each other. A lot of times we'd be on our cell phones, we'd be on Facebook. And I remember personally, I was a young, dumb, stupid kid that would, if I was having a fight with my ex-wife, I would, post stuff on Facebook about it, and vice versa. She would do the same thing to me sometimes. And looking back on it, I'm like, I was an idiot. That was really stupid of me to do something like that. And which just brings me back to my point where social media has become quite toxic because I see people do that a lot. Like, well, okay, maybe not anymore, but like I've seen people do it quite frequently. And I remember this one time. I don't even remember what I posted. It was so long ago now, but her dad actually got a hold of me on Facebook Messenger and was like, "Hey, take this stuff down. You do not need to be putting this for the public to see." And I remember like 2 years ago, I was reading my ex-father-in-law's text messages and my text messages, and I look back at myself and I'm like, man, I was a douchebag. I was like a really not good person, and like if I could, I'd like to reach out to him, and be like, hey, I look, now 5, 6, 7 years later, whatever. I'm like, I am sorry. Like this person, I don't even know who that person is anymore. But he had some very wise words for me. He started talking scripture and stuff with me, which at the time I didn't appreciate. But I look back on it now and I'm like, he had some very good points. When you're fighting with your spouse, significant other, whatever, if you're gonna fight behind closed doors with each other. You don't need to be bringing it into the public because I honestly believe that's part of why my marriage failed, is because both her and I would fight, would talk crap about each other to our parents. And obviously, they're going to side with they're not going to side with the opposite spouse. They're going to side with their kid, and I didn't realize that at the time, and so like it would just turn into a shit talking, session with like my parents, or like I'm sure with her parents, it would talk into, oh, this guy's an asshole, this is what he does, yada yada yada, and it pushed us further apart. And I feel like maybe if we would have fought internally behind closed doors, let ourselves cool a little bit, not post on social media, throwing our phones, in a basket or something where we're away from our phones so we can cool down and not express how we're feeling on social media, that things would have been a lot better. I may even still be married had that happened. But fortunately, young dumb kids, it happens. It's part of growing up. I like this quote. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but you live life. Oh wait, here it is. You live life forward, but understand it backward. So I'm 32 years old. I look back on life, like I was just talking about my ex-wife. Looking back on life, thinking, oh, I could have done that differently. Oh, I could have done this differently. Why was I such an idiot? Why did I do that? And it's like, whoa, the understanding is just blows your mind. But kind of got off topic there. But what I realize now as an adult is, and like I'm not really even on social media anymore. I'll post my streams on social media, but what I've realized about social media is it's a fantasy world. you know, what happens on social media is, people will post highlight reels on social media, right? This couple just got married. Oh, this couple just had a baby. Oh, this person just got a new job. Oh, this person just whatever the thing is, you know, and say you're like me, like I live in an apartment, I see, people getting married, I see people having kids, I see people, go moving up in their job, and then what I end up doing, either consciously or subconsciously, I'm not entirely sure, is I compare myself to that person and set unrealistic expectations for myself. I like that rule, Sarah. I really do. That's a really good rule. I 100% agree. Um, but what I find myself doing with social media, and that's why I'm trying to just say no more social media. Period. Is not compare myself, where I'm at, because we all go through life differently. We all get to different mile markers at different times in our life. I got married when I was 23. I got married young, and I had the rose-colored glasses on. The world was so in love with my ex-wife. And that was my mile marker. I got married at 20. I got married young. My when I was fresh out of high school, or even during high school, I was like, okay, so my goals in life, right? Okay, okay, I had no career. I'll be honest, I had no career goals for myself when I was fresh out of high school. But my goal in life was, okay, my parents had me at 25. I want to be having kids at 25. Married at a young age. Establishing a career. I had this big picture, and none of my goals, quite honestly, have been met. Over the course of the last 3-ish years or so, I've been very career focused and trying to get that part of my life in check. But the romantic part of my life has not been there since I've been divorced. And a lot of that was my own doing. I spent a number of years beating myself up over, some of the things I did in my marriage. Um, it was, I was very toxic towards myself. And, I had to learn self-forgiveness. There was a lot of things I had to learn. And as I said, you live life forward, understand it backward. And now I look back on it, I'm like, wow, I wasted, like 5 years of my life beating myself up over what exactly? Um, but due to what I was talking about in regards to, comparing yourself to like the people that you see in your social media feed, a couple things happen. I feel like and studies have been done on this. Like you can go look up studies. Studies have been done on on social media. Like social media can be an addiction. It accesses the same parts of the brain that say heroin, cocaine, alcohol. It releases dopamine into your brain because you have that instant gratification. Which is why I feel like when MySpace started, because we didn't have cell phone or smartphones like we do to the extent we do today, that instant gratification was there, so it was not as addictive, I guess. Um, but what's happening in your brain when you scroll through your social media feed is you'll be like, oh, oh hey, so and so got married. That's so cool. And then maybe subconsciously, if you're like me, you compare yourself. Maybe you're a single young lady, a single young man, whatever. You'd be like, oh man, I wish I could be married. So you go from so that transition from, I'm happy to, oh, now I'm sad because I'm not there, and then, okay, well, you scroll through your news feed or whatever, and it's like, oh, hey, something bad in the news happened, and then you start feeling down. You're like, oh, and then, maybe something political that you don't agree with happened, and then you start feeling angry. You just feel all these range of emotions all at once and within a short period of time, and it's hard on you mentally and emotionally, you know. Um, and sadly, I think we're too far gone at this point to really do anything about it. I truly feel, and this in our society right now, we are in a mental health crisis that needs to, something needs to be done about it, and nothing is. Just look at the state of the world. Depression left and right. People aren't getting the help that they need. People, like I said at the start of the stream, I was talking to a friend talking about, or a friend at work talking about social media and, you know, people claiming that they have different diseases or different mental issues, when they don't really have them. They're self-diagnosing. That's what I was trying to get at. They're self-diagnosing issues, and that's another thing, like, people do, self-diagnose on WebMD. If you think you're sick, if you think you have an issue, go see your doctor. I mean, granted, doctors don't always have the answers, but it's better than self-diagnosing and getting yourself into a tizzy over worrying about something that you probably don't even have. I'm guilty of this myself. I've done this before. I'll just be straight up. Over the last weekend, I had some. My little brother gave me some gummies while I was visiting there, and like I had way too much because I didn't know what the dosage was, and it was apparently 50 each, and got really high, and it felt like there was an elephant sitting on my chest, and I was Googling heart-related symptoms, and just getting myself all worked up over nothing. Now, granted, I wasn't posting anything about it on social media, but the idea is still there, because then what happens, you post that stuff on social media, you get other people worried about you, people telling you to go to the hospital, you have all this, information coming into your head, making things even worse. Go see a doctor. That is the best thing you can do for yourself and others, and save yourself a little bit of embarrassment in the process. Yeah, and like you exactly, Sarah. And I'm trying to do the same thing to myself. Like, if I am talking to somebody, like I'm engaging in chat right now. I'm talking to you guys. My cell phone's over here. I'm not engaging with anything else. This is my priority. You know, I am trying to engage with chat. I am trying to, you know, I'm also trying to get my thoughts together. And make coherent thoughts. um, but yeah, that's a really good thing to do. When you're with family, put the phones away. Whatever device you're on, eliminate all distractions. Enjoy the time with your family, because trust me, working in healthcare, I've seen several people die. I've seen it tear families apart, and it really gets you thinking. You know, it really gets you thinking about what's really important in life. And what's not important in life is social media. As I said before, it's a fantasy world. People on social media really like to talk shit, which makes it even more toxic and just cyberbully, what the hell ever. You know, and people like to talk shit on there. People say things on social media that they wouldn't say to your average person on an everyday basis. You're not going to go up to somebody on the street, that you see they're wearing, whatever, I don't know, something, maybe it's a statement you don't agree with or something. You're not going to go up to that person and say, hey, fuck you, that, this, that, or the other, and start, being an asshole to this person, because what's going to happen is you're going to get your teeth knocked out. That's what's going to fucking happen. So did I cover all my points? But I also believe that social media, I kind of, it's given society, people in society, a big ego, and it's made us incredibly ignorant of the actual world around us. And this goes for the news media as well. We look at the news media, and we're just kind of like, We're like, oh man, the world's a scary place. Oh, this is happening. Oh, another school shooting. Oh, another this, another that. Oh, look at what this is. Look what's going on here. But then, you take a step out into your neighborhood. You know, go to the grocery store, and the world isn't as terrifying as social media makes it out to be. It's not as terrifying as the news makes it out to be. It's people living their lives, minding their own damn business. Usually. Not always, but usually. People, you see somebody help an old lady across the street. You're like, oh, well, social media doesn't talk about this stuff. The news media says, this, that, or the other negative, and, it's that's just what I'm seeing myself. That's just what, like, turn off the news once in a while, folks. Turn off the news, turn off your phones, go smell a rose or two, go hug your mom, go hug your dad, grandma, grandpa, whatever, aunt, uncle, pull yourself away from social media. Pull yourself away from social media. Spend more time with your family. Exactly. Sarah just made a very good point. A lot of social media is for people to get their 15 minutes of fame. Like, and that's a very good point. I didn't really even think about that. But she's right. You got all these big influencers, actors, music artists, whatever, politicians, go on social media, they're trying to, oh, hey, oh, this person talked to me. Oh, I commented on this person's stuff, and, yada, yada, yada. And not even just that, like, so if I'm repeating the same point, I apologize, but social media, like I said, it just inflated our ego so much. We got 200, 300, 400 friends following us. How many of those people do you really talk to? How many of those people really care about your opinion? How many of those people really care about what's going on in your life? I can say personally, there's a lot of former coworkers that I have on my Facebook, and I don't talk to really any of them. What I'm, in my 30s, what I've learned in life is that, to be healthy, at least emotionally and mentally, you need 3, maybe 4 good friends that you can go to any time of the day for about anything. You need a good family, love your family. Hopefully they love you back. I mean, it's not always the case. Not everybody has that. And if you don't have that, lean on your friends. Lean on your 3 or 4 good friends. Give them a hug. Tell them what you're going through. Because I think that's a much healthier way of expressing your emotions and getting your emotions out than making a post on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. You're not clout chasing that way. You're not exposing yourself to the toxicity that is social media. You're not going through, like we talked about before, you're not forcing your brain to go through all these different emotions within a short span of time. Going at somebody, having a phone call, even a text message conversation with just that person, or group chat or whatever, be like, hey, I'm having a hard day. Like me, for example, like I said before, I've had patients die. I've had patients die on me. I had a patient, back in October, I had to perform CPR on, and she didn't make it. And, it was hard on me. I had to reach out to my mom, who's a nurse, and, I talked to her for a little while. If I'm having a hard day at work, she gets it. She works in healthcare. She gets where I'm coming from. And when it comes to work-related stuff, I talk to my mom about, everything like that. Other personal stuff, I go to my buddy Michael, or Necromancer, some of you might know him. I might go to him, I might go to my dad about some things. Like you just got to find those couple of people in your life, and we don't need social media. We don't need social media for those kind of things. I had more I was gonna say on stuff like this. What else was I gonna say? I've gotten off the discussion points a couple different times to talk about more personal stuff. So I'm not quite getting what you're saying, Sarah. I think what you're saying, if I'm not mistaken, if you're saying that if you're out shopping or something and a robber or something is coming out and you're distracted on your phone, it could save your life. Is that what you're getting at? I mean, you're not wrong. I see a lot of that. I see a lot of people, you know, on their phones. I mean, to include myself, I'll admit that. Crossing the street, they're on their phones. Couldn't care any less about the world around them. A lot of accidents happen that way. Car accidents. I mean, yeah, I guess that could be a positive of social media. Oh, I mean, to you know to to elaborate on that, on Sarah's point there. Um, I remember back in 2016, I was living in Columbus, Ohio, and I was going to Columbus State Community College at the time, and on the Ohio State campus, there was some wacko with a big chef knife going around just randomly stabbing people. And I hadn't heard about it till later that day. Um, but I know like Facebook has that little feature with a flag or whatever where they're like, marked safe from whatever event. And I'm like, I didn't even know this was going on. And I remember my one of my uncles had said, "Oh my gosh, my nephew goes to that school." I didn't go to Ohio State. He got a little confused on that one, but I'm like, "Hey, I'm Mark Safe. I'm good." So I'm not saying social media is all bad. It does have its good points, but anymore it seems like it's more bad than good, in my humble opinion. um, I feel like I've gone off on so many tangents at this point. I can't keep track of my thoughts here. um, but that's just my 2 cents on the whole social media, on the social media thing. You learn from your mistakes. Actually, some people don't learn from their mistakes. Some people are just fucking idiots, if you're being totally honest. But um, you know, like I said, to sum it up, I guess here, you know, don't go to social media with your woes. You know, go to your close family members and friends. Talk to them if you're going through something hard. You know, um, eh, yeah. I mean, you're kind of right, Sarah. So I mean, it's not good, bad, or indifferent. It has, like I've said a couple times already, it has its use, but people so often anymore misuse it or abuse it, just like anything else. Um, they misuse it, you know, to whatever degree they misuse it for. I just made the same point. Whatever. um, But yeah, people misuse it. Like just like drugs. People abuse drugs. People abuse alcohol. It's you know I don't want to call it substance abuse, but it's very similar. Pornography even is an addiction. You know, you get people who I mean, I'll admit I use porn. I hate that I hate that I can admit that. I don't like it. I beat myself up over it. But when you're single, what else do you have? You got to have that release somehow. Whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. You know, it is also still an addiction because it affects the same part of the brain. You look at porn, use drugs, alcohol, social media, and misuse it and do it over and over again. It's going to rewire your brain into a dependency on that thing. Whatever it is. Social media is, like I said, social media is no different. It rewires your brain into thinking you need it because what social media does is you get that instant gratification. You get that like, you get that notification. You're like, ooh, hey, somebody commented on my picture of this cat or whatever. And it's like, oh, cool. Some people are engaging with me. And as humans, you know, we need engagement with other people. And it needs to be more focused on actual physical interaction with each other and not cyber. And I know it's uncomfortable for a lot of us. I mean, again, like I said at the beginning of this, I'm autistic. Social interaction has a tendency to be very hard for me. Now, I've gotten better about it. I couldn't really work in the field that I'm working if I wasn't good about it. I've definitely made some improvements. I'm actually very extroverted at work, and usually when I'm at home, I'm very introverted. You know, I was nervous at the start of this stream. I'm like, I've never done anything like this before, and I'm kind of tired from work. I don't really want to, engage, but here I am. I did it. I'm actually bringing up good conversation pieces. I hope those of you that are watching after will drop me a follow, and if you like what you see, let me know. I can talk about other topics later as I think of things. You know, because I actually have a lot of ideas. I think it's about stuff in the car when I'm at work. Things just in the old noggin here that I would like to express and get out. That's why I'm trying to start a podcast here whenever I get the equipment for it. But anyway, guys. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in. I just kind of already did my selling point. Drop a follow if you like what you saw. You know, DM me or whisper me, whatever. All my socials are down there in the About section. Message me if you got a conversation topic you would like my insight on. But anyway, guys, it's about 9:45 where I'm at, so I'm probably going to game for like 45 minutes and then call it a night. But be safe, guys. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you next time.